My world is sure a fascinating one. It sounds egotistical, but I don't think I have met another person that's been in this sort of situation. Maybe there are some similarities here and there, but it's different. That's the beauty of human life. Everyone's lives are different in one way or another. I assume that's the reason I like reading autobiographies. People always have an interesting story to tell. So, I guess some people might be interested in my own story. I don't like intertwining my personal life and my online presence other than with online friends. There have been a lot of events that have made me extremely against this idea. Before I accidentally exposed my channel to some of my classmates, I had my channel essentially hidden from everyone I talked to other than very close friends for over 4 years. My videos aren't exactly normal. Some might call them cringy due to their nature, especially back when I decided to never share my channel to people again. But there was a specific Discord conversation that I will credit to as the reason for the creation of the name Scouthex and the channel. This is what I believe to be my collision of worlds, between my personal life and online world. However, what exactly happened when these two worlds collided? Why did I choose not to talk about it for such a long time, and what do I even mean? Well, to understand, we're going to have to go back all the way to 2019. More specifically, there's this Discord conversation from this time period that I always come back to every once in a while, because I believe it was the catalyst for the next few years of my life. More specifically, personal growth and YouTube channel. This Discord conversation has survived the tests of time and is still sitting there on my Discord server untouched. I am most likely the only one who actually remembers this argument because it was rather insignificant in the grand scheme of things. With this though, even though you can search this message up and find every single person involved in this whole fiasco, please just leave them and the messages alone. Like I said, all of this happened in 2019. It's been nearly 4 years since this event took place, and with this video I don't intend on bringing back up old drama or to get my viewers to witch hunt the people mentioned in this video. I feel like this needs to be stated since some people might not understand my intent with this video. Without further ado, I'd like to present this small, roughly 60 message long conversation where the essence can be summed up in just one message. For some reason back in 2019 and earlier, I had this tendency to ignore messages. This is what happened on September 23rd when 𝗧𝗶𝗺𝗀𝗀𝗃, a server member at the time, sent the following message.
Sorry for not replying, a family member died and then the car crashed and I just don't have the time right now.
I then responded with a simple, okay? This message to me looked perfectly normal. At the time, I decided to rehost staff applications for my Discord server. I had demoted every single staff member due to controversy. I accepted 3 new staff members. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, known as 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃 at the time. This was probably the least controversial pick from the bunch, since 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 was a fairly chill guy. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 was a more controversial pick. He had already caused drama within the server before, and was basically made fun of for being mad at pings. And lastly, I picked one last person, who will eventually be the origin for Scouthex. During the development of Majus' minigames, I invited a guy, let's just call him for the sake of this video, CalvinTheOne, to be scripter and builder for the game because of a recommendation from another user who I'll get to in a minute. Calvin was a really good developer and he really helped with the progression of the game. We talked sometimes, although we weren't particularly close. I didn't personally consider him a friend, I considered him more like a partner. He was a huge help for the game, however, helping me and the other developers progress at a much faster rate due to his expertise. For a while, my Discord server used to have a role for friends. This role wouldn't do anything other than give access to a voice channel and maybe a text channel. There was no point for it to exist, but the selection process was complicated. There weren't any specific requirements, and I just give people the role if I felt like they were my friend. This unfortunately caused a lot of confusion over the years, and one of those scenarios was with CalvinTheOne. Calvin had managed to get the staff role before even getting the friends role, which must have rubbed Calvin and his friends the wrong way.
You are done.
It also didn't help that this decision was very weird. The only reason he even got promoted to staff was because I didn't want people who broke the rules to be a part of the staff team, and so, because a former staff member was misbehaving, I demoted every other staff member too. Later, at the dawn of September 24th at 4 AM, a person named Saturn, and the person I talked about earlier, would send the following messages.
Hey Sam, I wanted to say, geez, that's terrible. I'm so sorry you had to go through all of that. I know how it feels since both sides of my grandparents are dead, I'm pretty sure, and my uncle died a couple years ago.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, man.
None of these messages are exactly harmful, although I was then brought into this conversation from my response from before.
Also, Majus, I'd like to mention how you didn't even care a single bit about what he said. You just said, okay. It seems like you care about basically no one but yourself.
Yeah, honestly. What the heck? You just kinda use people.
Max still hasn't even gotten the friends role, even though he's been a big helper with Majus minigames. You use Sherry, Max, and probably other people. I honestly wish you could improve.
Now, we're really going to need to go back to understand everything that is happening. 2018 was a weird period of time for me. I had been doing this YouTube thing for 2 years already, yet if I look back at my videos now, it looks like I had no idea on what I was doing. There were many hiccups, maybe even some great moments too. Despite everything, I have a lot of nostalgia for this point in time. Mostly because this was the time when I was finally starting to meet some new people online, meeting some new YouTuber friends. Beforehand, I was in my own little YouTube bubble. There were few that watched my videos, mostly close friends in real life or people who had subscribed for their level to be played on a level request stream. I didn't have an audience or anything to lose, honestly. That wasn't how I saw it in my head, likely due to the lack of maturity. I remember, I believe it was January of 2018. I had played this new event on Roblox called Labyrinth. I personally loved this event. I thought it was a good example of a traditional event adapted in a fun way. At the time, I watched this YouTuber named 𝗦𝗶𝗶𝗀𝗀𝗃, who was a reviewer. I noticed that he hadn't reviewed this event, and I was quite disappointed since I wanted to see his criticism for the event. So, on my old TV, I went on the YouTube app and searched up something along the lines of Roblox Labyrinth review. Staring back at me was a video by the YouTuber Hey I'm 𝗬𝗀, and his review on the Labyrinth events. My memory is a little fuzzy surrounding what I did next. I most likely watched some of 𝗬𝗀's other reviews for a while in the shadows, before I decided to join his Discord server on March 4th, 2018. It sounds like a rather insignificant event, but my history with the server is what would ultimately dictate my present life. I joined the Discord server while 𝗬𝗀 was livestreaming him playing in his fan game, not expecting much. I was hoping to get into a voice channel with him just to talk. I was a big fan of his at the time, and I essentially fanboyed over him. Nowadays, I don't understand why people freak out so much when they see me in a JTO lobby. I guess that's how 𝗬𝗀 must have felt. He wasn't exactly a popular YouTuber, he must have had roughly 400-ish subscribers at the time. I don't remember talking much in the server during my first few months there, just occasionally popping up and talking. Looking back at these conversations, it's almost bizarre to read, seeing how innocent everything was, seeing myself interact with future friends and frenemies. But I'm going to skip ahead in this time period. In 𝗬𝗀's server, there were few voice channels, but the one that caught my attention was the friends only voice channel. 𝗬𝗀 would almost always be in this voice channel, and I really wanted to talk to him and be his friend. I'm not sure if it was for status, power, or some other reason, but it was just creepy. This obsession would culminate on April 22nd, when 𝗬𝗀 was finally in the general VC. I got some people together in a Flee the Facility private server, and I decided to record the whole ordeal. Little did I know that this would be a terrible idea. I decided to ask 𝗬𝗀 beforehand about this, but in response, he said he didn't want the video to be uploaded to my channel and was confused as to why he was left unaware of the fact that it was recorded. At the time, and well, maybe even a little bit today, I was really clingy. For the next few days, I would ask 𝗬𝗀 if he was mad at me for this whole situation, when he wasn't all that bothered about it, just concerned. This behavior wouldn't stop, however. I continued to be weird to 𝗬𝗀. I'd practically beg him to be my friend, and I also wanted him to face reveal. I eventually got kicked for the reason of swearing in VC, which is fucking stupid. But at the same time I got kicked, the main character of the story emerges. Around the time of May, I met Saturn7896. After talking to him a bit on 𝗬𝗀's server, I invited him and also a few other people from that server to my own. I started to talk to him casually and we were both friendly to one another. In July, I recorded a Survivor season with him.
Okay, I'm gonna go for Saturn.
There were also a few more questionable things I did, most notably the normal Discord conversation video, which I talked about in the Scouthex iceberg video. Coming towards the end of 2018, I would make a video that would be revolutionary for my channel. My thoughts on Geometry Dash after 2 years was the first ever video that was scripted and edited. It's the earliest example of what a Scouthex video would eventually turn out to be. I was testing the water with these scripted videos, and I generally liked making them. After this, I started slowly making more and more content that had editing and scripting. Beforehand, all of my videos were just simple gameplay videos with very loose editing, usually just an intro and an outro at the end. There were a few videos in between with editing, like my old My Fans in a Nutshell series and Majus vs. Fans. From these videos, I slowly learned new editing tricks to apply to these new scripted videos. And slowly but surely, I've built up from those videos to today. Although, let's not get ahead of ourselves. At the start of 2019, I decided to stop making vlogs, event tutorials, and essentially any non-scripted video.
No more
Vlogs.
No more
Event tutorials.
No more
Island Royale.
No more
Hate from 𝗬𝗍𝗻𝗍.
This would mark a big change for my channel, and also a big change in my demeanor, at least to how I looked at videos. Before making scripted videos, I didn't exactly care how many views I got or how the video performed. I'd still spam people like so on my videos because I wanted people to watch them, but I was fine with getting 10 views and 2 likes on my videos.
I mean, it's alright, like...
Although now that I started caring more about quality than whatever the heck I was making before, now I thought I deserved a little more respect for what I was making. I noticed that these scripted videos were typically getting more views than my old gameplay videos, mostly because I kept spamming people's DMs with my videos and asking them to share their thoughts. This wasn't just limited to 𝗬𝗻 either, I'd also do this to pretty much every Discord contact I had at the time. Another weird thing I did in 2019 was a subscriber war between a friend at the time known as 𝗬𝗻. I thought the whole 𝗬𝗏 vs. 𝗬𝗏series thing was really cool, and I wanted to make my own sub war. Not exactly to gain subscribers for myself, but just because I wanted to be involved in something like this. I remember 𝗬𝗻 wanting to collab with me on an Island Royale video back when I used to do those. We started talking and eventually became friends. In fact, I actually became his editor for a temporary amount of time. I think I edited 2 videos of his, and another one was recorded but not edited. I would show you clips of them in the background, however, I must have deleted them from my channel once 𝗬𝗻 uploaded them on his channel, and he seems to have privated everything on his channel. I actually got 𝗬𝗻 to give me a shoutout during this period, which at the time was the only time where 𝗬𝗻 actually did anything in relation to my channel. I proceeded to lose the subscriber war, although looking back at the situation now, I got the last laugh, considering now I'm the one who still has a YouTube channel. Meanwhile, 𝗬𝗻 doesn't upload anymore. With this subscriber war behind, my ego continued to take over me. If I could force people to band together to watch my videos and subscribe to me once, then I could do it again. And so this started to cause a bit of a downward spiral. Back to my shenanigans with 𝗏𝗏. I decided to start building an 𝗦𝗀𝗀 2019 leaks game with him, which brought us closer together. There was a small hiccup when there were claims that games which leaked events would be taken down, but other than that, it went pretty well actually. I later invited 𝗏𝗏 to work with me on a game I was making called Majus Minigames. Basically, 𝗏𝗏 and I worked on Studio a lot, and that was the extent of our friendship. Because of how close we got while working in Roblox Studio, he'd usually help me out when I got myself into drama, even if I was completely in the wrong. These were different times, so to speak.
Hating is a part of life. It might suck, but it's natural for humanity. I mean, sure, racism or sexism or any other hate speech is bad, but hating on some pixels isn't as bad as homophobia, racism, sexism, and more.
This is why nobody really cares for your content. You just expect people to like it. But sometimes people hate. And also you don't put effort sometimes. And it makes you seem kinda narcissistic.
I don't know why it was this message in specific that stuck out to me. The word narcissist. I had never heard of it before. I searched it up and I felt like it finally clicked to me. Throughout all of these conversations with people, I was constantly trying to be the center of attention. I was the one who was at fault. It wasn't 𝗏𝗀 just being a weirdo for not liking pings. It was me annoying him and not respecting his wishes. It wasn't 𝗬𝗻 who was ungrateful to his fans. It was me being weird to him. The words felt so bitter, so personal to me. I can only guess as to why this was the only conflict from the 𝗬𝗻 era where I genuinely felt guilty. For the longest time, I assumed that it was the word narcissist and how much it resonated with me. Even months after this message was sent, I would constantly be insecure about being a narcissist. But I think after writing this whole script, I can only assume that it's because of the nature of the situation. During this time, pretty much around the summer of 2019, I would constantly complain about low view counts to people. This would obviously frustrate people because realistically, no one cared that I got low views.
Teenager! You!
Cares.
With an outlook like that, I was bound to get low views. but I felt like my views weren't justified for how much effort I was putting into the video, especially since I had almost 500 subscribers at the time. Saturn would eventually point out how silly my complaints were. I was annoyed that a video only got 2 views, even though it came out only 6 minutes ago. Yeah, I was pretty petty back then. I would constantly DM Saturn asking him to watch my videos and ignoring random messages of his. Calvin and Saturn were never exactly mean to me. They were like yes men. They complained sometimes, but it's not like they cared all that much. They would defend me every time I would do something completely ridiculous. So this contrast sort of unblinded me. If the people who are always there by your side all of a sudden turn against you, you've screwed up.
Yes, oh, I'd be mad. Also, if you take the mod at the moment, I don't really care because this isn't a fun community. Maybe I'll be a bigger part of it later, when you change your attitude.
This server hasn't done much for me, mostly just drama. At least 𝗬𝗻 server, although giving me drama, also gave me a lot of friends.
I think this was another part that opened my eyes up as well. Let me paint a picture by going back again. I won't go into this much, but in May I decided to organize another Survivor season for my channel, featuring as many friends of mine as I could. I decided to invite Saturn, although he wasn't able to show up. I also invited a lot of people from the 𝗬𝗻 server. In fact, 9 people were directly from 𝗬𝗻 server, while 2 people were friends with Prismatic, who was also from 𝗬𝗻 server. The only 2 people who weren't related were 𝗬𝗀𝗃 and 𝗦𝗏𝗍𝗍, because I had known them for a while. Like I've mentioned before, 𝗬𝗻 server was essentially my online life at the time. It was the only server I talked in, more than even my own server, and almost everyone I knew was from that server. So when I got banned from his server following Survivor Season 3, it was devastating. I had effectively been banished from the server. I won't go in depth about the reasoning, but I stacked up a fairly big number of warrants and I hit the nail on the coffin due to a dumb controversy that I don't even understand to this day. Saturn was on my side like usual. He was confused by the hypocrisy of the decision, considering multiple other members should be banned due to their high warrant counts. Saturn was always a good friend to me. He would defend me even if whatever nonsense I said wasn't true. I would in turn defend him too when I could. The rest of the messages were also some personal jabs at me in relation to my complaining about the lack of views on my channel and my strict enforcement of the rules on my server. There were a lot of eye-opening messages here, at least to me. Eventually 𝗬𝗻 tried to defend me, which looking back at, I wish he didn't, considering that my behavior was completely unacceptable. After this whole fiasco, my first messages were, "That was cring," which exacerbated the situation. I don't remember my exact thoughts on this situation after it happened.
Turns out I did have a longer response than "that was cring." I privately responded to the controversy in Calvin's DMs, apologizing profusely and accepting the new name of Narcissist because of an online test confirming that I am a narcissist. Calvin would forgive me afterward and everything went back to normal. Sort of.
A week and a half after this argument, I finally gave CalvinTheOne the friend role. After a few weeks, everything went back to normal. The server was a little less active, but that's about it. Even some people who were previously kicked came back, like Chuck and Saturn himself. To everyone else, this was the end of it. But to me, I still thought about the message a lot. I'd plastered this name of Narcissist on myself and I just felt like crap. I'd mentioned it in Discord messages throughout the winter, and not sure if it was to score sympathy points or whatever. Overall, I was in not such a good position, but I think it was necessary. This message bled into my everyday life. It wasn't just an online stamp plastered on my forehead that I was sheepishly sharing for pity. Rather, it was also a stamp in the real world. It was always there, I had just never noticed it. I remember thinking back in 2018 and 2019 that my classmates were against me, that they had some sort of unfair bias against me and that they bullied me, tell the teacher on me for no reason. But really, it was because I wasn't a great person. People had convinced me to think otherwise, and it's not like I blamed them. I basically shut down everyone who didn't agree with me, and I got my gang of yes men to witch hunt them.
You got one part of that wrong. This is wrong.
I did this to 𝗬𝗻 after my ban as well, which I deeply regret to this day. Following this argument, my relationship with Saturn would begin to sour a lot more. We'd get into more and more fights, mostly stemming from his anger issues and different political beliefs near the end. I remember 𝗬𝗻 went on a website that generated fake people and generated an inside joke that we'd end up using for years. This guy was given the name Joe Gattern, although Joe Gattern would be redirected towards Saturn because the names sound really similar. And for some odd reason, that name seemed to really make him upset. Because of that, my yes men circle started calling him that whenever he said something that was critical of him, or sometimes just randomly. Eventually, after flip-flopping a bunch from being friends to enemies, we ended our friendship on sour terms in early 2021. Well, not including all the raids that Saturn did and the spies that were planted in my server for a while. A few weeks ago, Saturn contacted me and we finally made up and set aside our differences. I think both of us have matured ever since we last talked. It was actually kind of nice talking to him, although I likely wouldn't want to restart a friendship. Nothing personal against the guy, obviously, but I feel like it would be better for the both of us to just leave this behind. In terms of Calvin, well, I haven't talked to him yet. Nor has Saturn, actually. I'm not sure what to say, but if he is watching, I'd also like to apologize to you for acting so immature and using you and your generosity. I would like you to know that I will be forever grateful for all the help you provided me while working on my games. You are a great guy, and I hope you're doing well out there. I also decided to censor out your name in case you didn't want to be known or to be ostracized by my audience, even if you never did anything wrong, and it wasn't my intention to begin with. I bet after all of this went down, I decided to start going on my first self-improvement journey. I ditched the Majus username back in 2020 due to negative annotations with it. I felt like I no longer needed to use my real-life name as my username due to reasons even unrelated to this message. And so I thought it was time to change my branding, starting with my username. And you guys want to know what I chose? Yeah, this message can also be considered the origin story of Scouthex. Shocking. I got the name Scouthex by taking my favorite TF2 character to play, Scout, and combined it with a word that I got from a random word generator, which turned out to be Hex. Well, actually, there were more like 20 words, but Hex was the one that I went with because I thought it sounded the coolest. This sort of username creation was inspired from 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 username, which was a YouTuber I liked watching at the time. I wanted to pair a profile picture with this new username, and so I commissioned 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 to create it, combining the style of 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀's profile picture and Dark Dawn's. I've thought about changing this profile picture numerous times, but it's honestly too iconic to the brand of Scouthex. It's pretty much the one thing that has stuck around since the very beginning, and changing it feels sorta wrong, especially considering how many times I've used this picture and its edits in videos before. After starting up my new channel, I started prioritizing less on making videos to appeal to people and to get high view counts and comments. Rather, this was a passion project for me and my close friends at the time, where I could make whatever I felt like doing, even if it didn't have to do anything with Roblox. A common criticism I had back in the day was that I edited on my phone and it handicapped my videos. So with this new channel, I aim to make every single one of my videos edited on a computer. This turned out to be a good decision in the long run, since now I can say my videos have gotten a lot better since the KineMaster days. And due to this new outlook on YouTube, I achieved a lot. It took me a lot less time to get back to where I was at before. On the 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 channel, my subscriber count never went above 502, and so seeing this number go past that almost felt surreal to me. Now I have nearly 5,000 subscribers, a couple 100,000 views, and a passionate fanbase. While there are some things that I'd like to be different, I don't mind what I was given, especially considering what could have happened had I continued to upload on my old 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 channel. It's still sort of sad to look back on this whole situation, however. Back in 2019, there were so many people I used to talk to and so many YouTubers I looked up to, many of those being reviewers. Nowadays, I'm one of the only reviewers left on the platform, not including a few others who I haven't had the chance to meet or talk to yet. I'm now the one that's in their shoes.
Oh, brother got the key.
All because of this simple little message. Maybe I'm stretching it though. I was also unbanned from Zome's server in 2020, and I've already collabed with him on videos before.
Hey there, my name is Zome, and I used to be an event reviewer.
So it's nice to see that we're both on good terms again. I didn't explain who 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 is throughout this entire video, however, they were the person who got me banned from Zome's and a few other servers due to controversy. They were also name dropped in this conversation I was talking about, and they played a minor role in this whole controversy happening, since they're the main person who got Saturn to turn against me. However, I purposely left this part out for a multitude of reasons. Firstly, I don't know the full context behind this situation, and I also don't want this person getting unnecessary hate, considering they ended up doing good for me. I wasn't exactly the best person to 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀. I constantly begged them to review my videos, and asked them to give me criticism. All around, I was just a bit of an ass to them from the start. I'd also later start to fanboy over this person, just like I did with Zome. Except this time it was worse considering they considered me their friend. It was honestly bad, so I can see where all of this came from. I've barely gotten into contact with this 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 person, although I do remember talking to them when 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀's first part came out because they actually decided to watch it. But the real question is, why now? Why am I talking about all of this now rather than years before or later? Well, I wouldn't say there's a specific reason as to why I chose this time period. I had this video idea in mind beforehand, but I think the main reason why I decided to make this video is because I finally managed to make up with Saturn after all of these years. To be honest, I wasn't expecting the interaction between us great, as I had a fear that my old demons would come back to haunt me, like they did back in 2021. However, everything went better than expected, and I finally got to reflect on everything rather than just blindly walking along, expecting not to ever hear anything from my troubled past with the Hangman's Own Discord server. Well, I should have expected it, I guess. So I finally revealed one of the main reasons as to why I abandoned 𝗦𝗍𝗻 𝗻𝗀, or just Majus, and started Scouthex. I wanted to distance myself away from this message. I wanted to distance myself from everyone that I had wronged and I had wanted to change. It was time to stop being the person who played the victim and to grow up. I, of course, knew that a simple name change wouldn't do anything, but it was the first step and a symbol of change. I guess in a way it was a change of environment. I'm going to be honest, writing the script and editing this video has really made me find out a lot more things about myself. I'm a lot more proud of who I am, and it took me a while to finally start looking at myself more, but balancing out everything. My life isn't perfect obviously, but at least I can say that this message doesn't apply to me anymore, at least in my opinion. Maybe you disagree. I'd like to once again reiterate that this video is not being made to stir up old drama again. It was simply made for the sake of discussion to show off the butterfly effect and its power. It's also a simple look back, kind of like my other commentary videos. I'm glad that at the end of all of this, I got a happy ending and that I decided to change. Maybe it was partly due to maturity, as it's not like I was an old chap when all of this happened. But I will forever stand by that if it weren't for this Discord message, my life, and other people's lives right now, would be extremely different than what it is today. And honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. Anyways, thanks for watching this video.
So, I guess there is a reason I wear this mask. I never knew up until now. Huh, interesting. Man, but that was a lot of rambling, I can't lie. Had a little bit of a monologue there. Oh well, video's over I guess. But anyway, remember everyone, stay in school, don't do drugs, and don't be afraid to admit that you're wrong, because you'll be able to make a cool YouTube video out of it. I'll see you in the next one.